everybody.
It's so good to see you this morning.
Super glad.
We have another great show this morning for you with our Sunday morning kind of live.
Yeah. And if you see someone who's not on the call already, because I know you have at least one friend that's not on this call, go ahead and send them a text message or give them a buzz and have them get on the Zoom call today because it's our final lesson in Origin Story. It's our last one. You don't want to miss out.
That's exactly right, and it's going to be a great day. So, in fact, do this. I want you to, in the chat, I want you to type the name or the names of everybody that you are sending a text to right now or that you are calling. Put that in the chat so we know who all has been contacted. Maybe we can contact them as well. So go ahead and get that ball rolling right now.
Do it now.
Another thing we have coming up real soon that we want you to contact your friends about as well is we've got Catalyst 2020. Catalyst Local is coming up July 20th, 21st, and 22nd right here at our church. So go ahead and get signed up today if you're not already there.
Yeah, and you can find that link in our bio on Instagram as well as the chat right now. We're going to send that directly to you so you get signed up as soon as possible so we know who and how many are coming so we can plan for you guys. And we have Dale Wallace, a D-Now speaker, 3 D-Nows ago. Is that correct?
Right.
3 D-Nows ago. He's super incredible, awesome. And then Angie Eddy is going to be leading our worship. It's going to be a phenomenal time. You're not going to want to miss out on this. It is just probably the best thing of 2020 thus far.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. It will be a great 3 days. You do not want to miss out.
Yeah.
It's an awesome time to work missionally and to think about what it means to live your life on mission as well. You'll have a chance to hear from some different missionaries, whether they be local or international. We've got some exciting surprises for you for those 3 days.
Yeah.
Now,
Cut.
Transition. Now, again, like Drew said earlier, this is the last week of this series, this origin story. We've talked about heroes this entire time and how each of you are heroes. You're heroes because you were created in the image of God and to embrace that creation, how God made you. We also found out and talked about how heroes care about those people in front of them. You shouldn't pass by the people that you see on a daily basis and not care for those people.
Yeah, and last week we talked about how heroes are stronger together. We watched the Avengers Endgame movie where everyone comes together, right? And you can't do this thing alone. And today, what we're going to be talking about is heroes are heroic in the ordinary moments. So we're going to get into it, and we're going to have a lot of fun today.
So take advantage of this ordinary moment. If the people haven't gotten in touch with you that you reached out to, reach out to them again. Bug them enough to get them here. We love to see all your smiling faces on Zoom. So be here, be ready to go, and here we go.
Boom.
And now for your superheroes of the day. We're just going to call out their aliases. If you know their real name and who they really are, feel free to put that in the chat.
So sad.
Shut up.
So sad.
Not sad, idiot. Angry. I lost my father. I lost my hammer.
Why?
You're not even listening.
Don't kick stuff.
You're being a really bad friend.
You bad friend.
You know what we call you?
No.
We call you the stupid Avenger.
You're tiny Avenger.
What are you, crazy?
Yes.
You know what? Earth does hate you. I'm sorry I said those things. You're not the stupid Avenger. No, nobody calls you the stupid Avenger.
It's okay.
Just can't go around throwing shields at people. Could have killed me.
No, sorry, I just get so angry all the time. Hulk always angry.
Well, we're the same, you and I. We're just a couple of hot-headed fools.
Yeah, same. Hulk like fire, Thor like water.
Well, we're kind of both like fire.
But Hulk like real fire. Hulk like raging fire. Thor like smoldering fire.
Yeah, as you just saw on the clip with Thor and Hulk, two good friends that have worked together, but now they're fighting. And sometimes you have to transition. Sometimes we fight with people that we're good friends with. But you have to find a way through the fight or past the fight or diffuse the situation. So sometimes laughter is something or joking around that helps do that. Either one of you have a story about maybe a time when that's helped you?
Yeah, for sure. Julian and I are really close. You know, we're siblings. We're really close for siblings, especially at this age. But during like those lockdown quarantine months, like March, April, May, we would have those Zoom classes, those Zoom dance classes that we would do together in this like really tight space. And sometimes you'd be like, oh my gosh, like get out of my way. And like, what are you doing? Spatial awareness, what's going on? And then we would just like look at each other and just start like busting out laughing because we realized that we were being ridiculous.
Yeah, you're
Like-
literally dancing to a screen.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
And like why are we getting mad at each other? So we would be like arguing in front of like our teammates, by the way.
Yeah.
Like not even aware that other people see us arguing, and then just like 5 minutes later just being like, what is going on?
Yeah. Definitely.
So I want to make sure that we're able to give our audience here today, everybody that's here, give them some opportunities for some good jokes, some good quality dad jokes that might help them, that they can kind of keep in their back pocket to pull out in one of those tense situations to just add a little brevity. So we're going to play a game called the Dad, well, it's just a dad joke game to try to see who can make the other person laugh. So
Forgot we can't laugh.
earlier, yeah, it's without you laughing, but making the other person laugh. So beforehand, we let Sarah and Brenna both choose some cards. On those cards are 3 jokes each. All they have to do is pick out 3 jokes total that they want to take turns telling each other to try to make the other person laugh without them laughing. We'll see how they can do. While they're doing this, to set this up, we would love for you to participate with us as well. As if you've got a great dad joke, you've got a great knock-knock joke, go ahead and enter that in the chat right now, and we will collectively pick out the best one and give you a prize. So put those jokes in right now as you listen to these awesome dad jokes from Brenna and Sarah.
Hold on.
Drew.
Okay.
Okay.
Why did the Soviet runner win the race?
Why?
Because he was always Russian.
It's a good one.
It was,
What state has the most church services?
I can't even. What state or what like
State.
region has the most church services?
Massachusetts. I can't say it.
Massachusetts. That's funny. Okay. What do you call a sleepwalking nun?
What?
What do you call a sleepwalking nun?
What?
Oh, I thought you. I thought you were like, what? Okay.
No, I mean like, what do you call
Okay,
a sleepwalking
okay.
nun?
A Roman Catholic.
I cannot. That's so stupid.
You go. Okay.
I can't not laugh. I'm sorry. Okay.
We're so bad at this. Okay.
I'm crying.
You are. You're definitely see some tears over there.
Okay.
Just wait.
I can't. Okay. All right. How do you laugh at a joke in Hawaii?
Drew is not helping.
Drew is laughing so
Um,
hard and not helping.
You go like haha Lulu. I don't know.
Aloha ha ha.
Oh wow.
You were close.
My answer
You
was
were close.
Okay. Last one. What type of bagel can fly?
I don't know.
A plain bagel.
That's good. That's good. This is so stupid. Okay.
We should never play this.
Last one. Yeah, we should have never played this game. Okay. What's the most important lesson the tree taught his son? Grow up.
Oh. Wowie. I was like, don't fall far from me. Like, but he's not an apple. But I don't know. Grow up. Wow. He's a good dad. I think we served out some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can see the results. So,
If me
there's
and Sarah were
ever-
fighting about anything,
yeah,
we're definitely
we were
not
going at
now.
it. I would just pull out my Roman Catholic joke and then
Absolutely.
we'd be on,
that one was
we'd
good.
be on the floor. So, there you go.
Go forth and conquer.
That was good.
You know, sometimes it's great to be armed with jokes just in case you need to set the tone, lighten the mood. Sometimes a joke isn't quite enough and may not be right at the given time. And so sometimes there are times that we need to apologize to friends and work a little bit harder to reconcile. Sarah, I think you had a story about that.
Yes, I do. So, a little background. The choir director that I had, I guess, since we graduated at school, was a constant test of my patience. And I could go much more into that. Let's just say she wasn't the nicest or the most patient. Anyway, so often would I find myself in her class getting frustrated or just angry sometimes because of the things that she would say or the way that she would treat students. And it was also like early in the morning, so I'm like already trying to, because my school starts at 7:30, so I'm like, it's still 9 o'clock and I'm still trying to wake myself up, and then I just get dumped all this negativity. It's not always fun, and it's not always easy to deal with the right way. That being said, it was an especially tough day, and I was just getting worked up over what she was saying, and the girl sitting next to me in our stands was like not doing her part and not sight reading and choir stuff. And so I turned to her and I was like, why aren't you singing? And I like snapped at her, and she's sweet, and she got like, her face was like, oh, like, I'm sorry. She couldn't say anything, and I just thought, I was like, oh my gosh, Sarah, why did you do that? Like, that was such a lack of control right there. But I can't really talk to her because we're in the middle of, singing and performing. So a few minutes later, once we had a good break, I thought about it. I'm like, okay, this is like, kids are like this all the time. I could literally say nothing and like, I'm sure she would forget about it, but that's not the right thing to do. And this is not, the way I talked to her was not reflecting Jesus. So I sat down next to her and I'm like, hey, Grace, like, I just want to be honest. I was upset about our director, and she just made me mad, and it came out the wrong way, and it was like a deflection of that, but it wasn't right. So will you please forgive me? And her look on her face almost resembled the one that she had before, because she was like, whoa, like how you're asking for my forgiveness? Like, it was fine. But she was like, yeah, of course, like, it's it's fine. So it's really up to you to decide, okay, am I just gonna let this go because it's not the hugest thing in the deal? Like, people snap, we're humans, and so I'm just gonna let it go, it's fine. Or can we be like, even though it's normal, per se, to be human and mess up sometimes, it's still not right. So I'm still going to, even though it kind of makes you vulnerable, is like, yeah, I messed up, go to that person and be like, hey, I'm sorry, this is what I did wrong, and this is why I did it, but it still wasn't right, please forgive me. So, and we're still really good friends, and there's no hard feelings. So forgiveness and being able to ask for forgiveness, is really important all the time. So yeah, that was a lot.
I think that's a great story, and it's one that probably everyone out there, myself included, that can identify with, at a minimum, the first part of the story with saying something that you probably shouldn't say for one reason or another, being rude. I can certainly identify with that. I think the thing that keeps me from identifying with the other sometimes is my own pride. And so I think that would be the thing for a lot of people, because you have to get past that and value the other person more than you do just your pride and not being able to admit that you're wrong or that you made a mistake and ask for forgiveness. But it's so important. There's lots of passages in the Bible where God or one of God's people tell us about how to handle things when we've hurt somebody. And here's one of them in James 5 verse 16. Therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. You know, we saw, and it may be a little bit cheesy, but we saw in the video of Thor and Hulk as well, that of reconciliation when they were being potentially physically hurtful to each other, and then also verbally as well. But the idea that their reconciliation looked like Thor apologizing and correcting the hurtful thing that he said. Hulk then accepted the apology. Thor then shared, okay, Hulk, this is how you hurt me now. And then Hulk apologized and shared how he felt. The bottom line is they found common ground, and I think if we work hard, especially with those people that we love, it's a lot easier to find common ground on what you are for together than what divides you. So there are lots of other passages in the Bible, but I think it's important that we go a little bit deeper and share a bigger principle about what that looks like. So, Brenna?
Yeah, it's also important to know the person that you need to reconcile to. So this passage in Luke 10, verses 25 through 29, it says, on one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? He replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. You have answered correctly, Jesus replied. Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? So basically, this lawyer is trying to find a way to get away with the bare minimum to please God. And in reality, Jesus says that's not how it goes. You need to love your neighbor as yourself. But loving your neighbor is not simple or easy.
So in another place in Scripture, in Deuteronomy, this man that Brenna was just talking about, he knew and understood the reference to the Shema, which is an ancient prayer of God's people. So we're going to read Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 5. And it says, listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, and the Lord alone. You must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your soul, and all of your strength. So this prayer is often repeated through the Old Testament, and you probably have heard of it before. It's called the Shema, like I said, which is the Hebrew word for listen, and it's the first command in the prayer. The second command is the word love. So it's saying listen to God and love God, but listen comes first. In order to love God, we have to first listen to him. And maybe by listening to and loving God, we can learn to listen to and love others better, just like Jesus did.
But that story continues, so there's more to the story of the man and his questions that he was asking Jesus. So tell us the rest of the story, Brenna.
So we've all heard this story that is found in Luke 10, 30 through 37. The lawyer wasn't super happy about the answer Jesus gave him, so Jesus said this. In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed on the other side. So a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him brought him to an inn and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expenses you may have." Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell in the hands of the robber? The expert of the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." So a lot of people may see the Samaritan as the hero, but in reality, he just saw a need and went and met the need. He was heroic in an ordinary moment, but have you ever seen someone in need but get ignored? So let's be more specific. Have you ever seen someone get hurt by the words or actions but ignore the problem?
So, just like the Samaritan man saw wrong and made it a right, Jesus' own ministry is filled with other examples of doing just that. We see examples in John and Matthew and tons of other places of how Jesus rights wrongs by teaching, healing, and encouraging not only his disciples, but the people he is teaching. So far in the series, we've talked all about heroes who have righted wrongs, but it gets a little bit tricky when heroes either intentionally or not so intentionally actually cause the harm themselves. So, heroes are known for righting wrongs, but sometimes the hardest wrongs to right are the ones that we create ourselves.
Yeah, it's very easy for people to want to be a hero. I mean, everybody wants to be a hero. You want to be a hero when you get to do something really big or important or flashy, when everybody notices you and gives you applause for the great job you're doing. It's easy to want to be a hero when you get all the glory, but none of the blame. But then you turn it the other way around, and if you look at what you would consider to be the real heroes, heroes are going to do the small things in front of them that it doesn't matter whether anybody notices or not, but them and God, when they take responsibility for things that are a problem and try to correct those things. So there's a big difference between everybody that wants to be a hero and what you can do to be a hero, and it's all fun and games, and then the idea that being a real hero, those are those small, ordinary things that probably require much more sacrifice, much more courage, and much more strength to do those things. Because heroes, as we're talking about the whole time today, heroes are heroic in those ordinary moments. So here's the question for you. The question is, who is your neighbor? When I ask you who is your neighbor, there's probably different people that come to mind, and usually I tend to think about people I like that are my neighbors, people that I enjoy calling my neighbor. But here, your neighbor may be the person that you cannot stand at all. Or maybe your neighbor is the person who can't stand you at all. Maybe your neighbor is the person you may be fighting with right now. Maybe your neighbor's also the person that you have not talked to in a while because you've had an ongoing argument with and you're still angry or hurt about something and you have no desire to reconcile.
Yeah, so I have a little story time. When we choose to build up these walls, kind of like Randy was talking about, it can kind of lead to a lot of unnecessary built-up bitterness or silence or just anger. And example of that I've experienced is way back in middle school, like 5 years ago. I had a little middle school boyfriend. We're going to leave him anonymous. But as I became closer with him, I started to pay less attention to my best and closest friends and spend more time with him and talk more about him instead of spending time with my friends and asking them how they were doing. And inevitably, my friends and I got in a fight about that. And they were, like, Sarah, you're, ignoring us, or like, just they were upset with me. And instead of being like, you know what, you're right, like I am not balancing my friend my friend groups or my attention towards you guys, I'm wrong, like I'm sorry. Instead, I was like, no, he's my boyfriend. I get to spend how much time I want to spend with him as I want. You know what I mean? and like would not admit that maybe I needed to change something up. And so instead of just apologize and start to work on myself, I built up that wall of like silence and not talking to them and bitterness that like they don't understand, like why I should get to feel the way that I want, I should get to spend my time how I want, and they don't get to tell me what to do with my time. And then as that wall kept getting bigger and bigger and our fight kept like going on and on and on, I was like, these are my girlfriends, like these are my closest friends, and I'm so lonely not getting to share my life with them right now over this boyfriend, stupid boy, who is only gonna last for so long. And I'm still really great friends with those girls to this day.
As more time passes, the bigger the fence may become between us, and we all know the bigger the fence that it becomes, the more difficult it is to see each other. But thanks to Jesus' example, we know how important it is to see one another.
So it comes back to you. So the question is, other than the fact that guys are overrated, what about you? Do you have a neighbor where you've built a fence or you've let a fence be built between the two of you?
Yeah. What, kind of like how we talked about with the Good Samaritan and different examples, what wrongs that we've done that we need to make right in those kind of relationships?
And last but definitely not least, what kind of fences you need to climb in order to reconcile with someone today.
We're going to let you go to your groups now. Whether you need to climb a fence, whether you need to tear a fence down, do what you need to, but you've got great time to now talk in your breakout rooms with your grades.
And don't forget, stay classy.
Bye.